Welcome to Dharmashala in the foothills of the Indian Himalaya, where in 1959 the Dalai Lama established his government in exile. And this morning, a group of young Tibetan women enjoy a game of soccer.
My name is Lamuki. I'm 19 years old. I'm a Tibetan, and my dream is one day to play football for Tibet in the FIFA Women's World Cup. Tonight, we are taking a long-distance bus to Dehradun for a 4-week soccer training camp.
In their modest cinder block home, Lamuki packs her bags for soccer camp while Mom prepares tea. Among her treasured possessions, a photo of her brother, the activist Seton Dorje, who disappeared over 2 years ago after a peace march to the Tibet-Nepal border.
He was marching for the freedom of Tibet. The Nepal army didn't allow us to go inside Nepal. They took out the gun to my brother. My brother even said that it's okay if you kill him, but not me and my mom. Now I play football for him.
Lamuki returns to her packing. Further down the mountain, tour manager Cassie Childers pauses for a while at the Dalai Lama's temple.
We have selected 27 girls from different Tibetan settlements all over India, and we're bringing them together for 3 weeks of football training to get them ready for 3 matches in Delhi against very good teams. Really, this is all just building up to 2017, when we hope to make the first Tibet women's national team debut and an international tour.
Since 2011, the 33-year-old teacher from New Jersey has coordinated women's football for the Tibetan National Sports Association. This is a woman perhaps in need of divine intervention.
China is very threatened by the existence of a Tibetan football team. They try to shut us down. They hack into websites and they try to make it impossible for us to play matches because we are actually engaging in a form of nonviolent protest by fielding a team that's wearing the Tibetan national flag. And that's related to recognition by FIFA, the governing body of international football. Currently, FIFA recognizes 23 non-sovereign entities as football teams, even though they're not countries. They don't recognize Tibet. Thirdly, we still face a fair amount of resistance within the Tibetan community itself. People in charge who don't think that football is important for girls.
Join me then, Ivan Broadhead, on a journey across northern India with 27 young Tibetans, the Snow Lionesses, and a willing band of international soccer coaches, as together they begin the match of their lives to tackle their opponents and establish the first national Tibetan women's soccer team.
Some people see the camp as just a soccer camp, but it is more than a soccer camp. It's about unity, it's about politics, and it is also about raising your own voice. I feel blessed.
Fullback Yang Chen, whose parents sent her into exile when she was 6.
Home is where you are originally from. Even if I gave birth to children in India, Tibet will be their home. I mostly miss the culture and my family. I remember my grandmother. We used to go around the Podala Palace in Lhasa, and there's a small tea shop. We always go there to have a cup of tea.
The 16-year-old might play soccer for political goals, but also simply to make her parents proud.
I last saw my parents 10 years ago. They want me to live in a free society. I never regretted that decision, because we have to face that separation at the end. It's just a matter of time before I see them again. It's death after birth, right? Death after birth. Yeah.
With all 27 players safely at camp in Uttarakhand State, a routine is quickly established for the coming weeks. Morning workouts, tactics, and continued education in the classroom. Afternoons back on the pitch.
We can't slow down. We keep pushing forward, day after day. It's hard.
Head coach Eric Boyd from Portland, Oregon.
Doesn't matter what team you end up on. Doesn't matter if you're starting in that match or coming off the bench. Okay? Just do your best, right? Do your best no matter what. Because, you know, there's something else getting in the way. of focusing on football?
China, economically they are very rich, so we can't stop the oppression. We Tibetans are trying our best, and our brothers and sisters are self-immolating. They are giving their soul to our nation, but still we can't get our freedom.
Midfielder Sonam escaped Tibet in 2004. The 18-year-old has travelled over 2,500 kilometres from southern India by bus and by train to join the camp.
The journey took 3 days, my first journey by myself. But I, as a Tibetan woman, I need to take responsibility. Though I'm not a good player, the camp is inspirational. Playing football, we can show the world that Tibet is a country and not part of China.
Orders from Tibetan National Sports Association headquarters could undermine such passion.
We have 27 girls, and we're only bringing 18 to Delhi.
Khalsang Dondup, TNSA Executive Secretary, has told the unconvinced coaches to slash the squad by a third before the matches in Delhi.
It's a problem. You know, we're trying to make this very serious football team that can travel abroad and play in major tournaments. But at the same time, we're trying to make this inclusive program to empower all Tibetan women. We need to make a national team, and that's how you do it.
Come on, are we ready to play? Let's go!
Days pass on the training pitch. Bonds strengthen.
Most of us escaped Chinese ruled Tibet when we were young. Our parents sent us with guide across the mountains, and we found freedom and exile in India.
Good, Doma. Great ball in.
22-year-old vice-captain and midfield dynamo Chonzam was 12 when she escaped across the Himalaya.
The terrain was so thorny and rough. These soles on my shoes, they all destroyed. I'm just like a boy and very short temper. I said, I don't want to go.
A young companion suffered frostbite crossing the freezing mountains, his fingers and toes amputated. But the Chinese army was the children's greatest fear.
They saw us because of dogs barking. So we ran very fastly and I fall down. When there is a rocks and I lost consciousness, there is a brother. He carried me on his back. He take care of me and I feel so grateful.
Most of the team escaped Tibet via Nepal. But since 2008, with Kathmandu seeking closer relations with Beijing, Tibetans like Lamuki's brother Tseten Dorje are no longer welcome.
They sentenced him for 5 years and 9 months in jail. The next year, he again started his march. From that day, there is no news from him.
Cut off in Tibet, Chonzam's parents thought their daughter had died crossing the mountains.
We are from a very small village and they don't have any telephones.
A moment of fate. A monk from her village caught sight of Chonzam in India, leading to the young refugee finally being put back in touch with her parents.
My father one day to travel in car to call me. He called Ayema, darling, or my dear. 5 or 6 years we searching for you. I thought you are already dead. Sorry. I thought you are dead and we are very sad. They had a funeral for me. When I speak with my father, I feel speechless. It's my precious day in my life because I find my parents.
Enjoy your weekend, rest up, eat very well, and let's have some fun this weekend, okay? Good job, girls. Let's get a cheer, and then we get out of here and do our thing.
The end of a grueling week. Emotions might be spent, but energy levels are inexhaustible.
We have been training very hard, and tonight we are relaxing. There is a great team spirit.
My nickname is Dex. I love to play football and I love to listen music, but I don't love to sing.
The players kick back with a talent show. The team help young goalkeeper Dex to a rousing conclusion when she forgets the words to her song.
Dex is definitely better at saving penalties than singing.
While the team relaxes, another bombshell from Tibetan National Sports Association chief Khalsang Dondop.
We've been told that we may not be able to go to Delhi for the matches. The Tibetan Youth Hostel does not have room to accommodate us. Yes, it's conservative, yeah. I'm definitely wondering how we're going to bring them abroad if we can't even figure out a way to bring them to Delhi. Granted, Delhi is definitely a dangerous city, for women especially, but there are plenty of ways that we can keep the girls safe. I don't know if we'd be having the same problem if it was a boys' team that wanted to go.
Dawn. Week 2 ends with the usual 5-kilometre run. The squad are watched by several buffalo and their herders who've wandered onto the ground. Bovine pitch invaders.
Eating the grass. There are 3 cows, 4 buffalo, and children, 3 cow children. This is Tibetan and Indian mixed grass. Very tasty.
Buffalo free. Training is nonetheless halted when His Holiness Sakya Trinzin, head of one of the 4 schools of Tibetan Buddhism, hears about the team's endeavours.
I think generally women are more inclined to spiritual practices. Yes, these football players, I hope they will be, I'm sure, be like modern day nuns. Of course, society structures, there are less women in participating in every field, but His Holiness Dalai Lama, with his great wisdom, he has done everything to promote women. In the past, there's no women cabinet ministers in olden Tibet, but now there are several ministers are women. This is just an example.
The hereditary Rinpoche, who could be succeeded by his own daughter, offers each player a blessing and a chocolate bar.
I said next time they should participate in the World Cup.
Good afternoon,
On their way back to camp, the squad spread a little sunshine, dropping in on the children at Nongo, the main Tibetan special needs school in India.
Welcome, team, to our school and
18-year-old Shimla, profoundly disabled, says he loves football, and it's brilliant that the Snow Lionesses have come to visit him and all his friends. Experienced players like sweeper laughing Buddha and centre-forward Rinzin are just as inspired by the children and vow that they play for all Tibetans.
I'm nursing at Apollo Hospital at Delhi. I've seen a lot of sick people, but I haven't met disabled. We have to do much better than.
We'll work harder from Monday.
I've just spoken to Khalsang and we have gotten some good news. We will be able to go to Delhi because the Tibetan Youth Hostel agreed to put us up there.
Amid the euphoria and with the Women's World Cup approaching, the squad follow His Holiness Sakya Trinzin's advice.
Today we are writing to ask FIFA to accept Tibet as a FIFA member.
When I wear Tibetan football kit, I feel so proud. We are playing football. We are not playing politics. We need support and for the world recognize our Tibetan women's team.
FIFA. They said that they don't recognize us because we are not sovereign country. But then they had recognized 23 non-sovereign countries like Palestine. So it won't be an appropriate reason, right?
Weeks before the camp began, Palestine played a friendly international with the People's Republic of China.
We think that such a gesture has its deep dimension. It's a clear-cut message to the Palestinian people that we are still committed to your just cause.
Head of the Palestinian Football Association, General Jibril Rajoub, speaking to the BBC World Service before the match.
Recognizing the very existence of a Palestinian sport entity, it means that recognizing a Palestinian political entity. For us, a peaceful mean, like sport, is a tool to expose our causing, to expose even our suffering. I sympathize with all those who are using sport, the values of sport, in order to expose their national aspirations.
All right, hey, listen up, please. So we have to announce captain before we get to the field. A captain is brave, should be a strong player, notices when a teammate maybe is struggling, and can put her arm around her teammate and say, "You're okay. Okay, you can do it. If you're not a captain, it doesn't mean that you don't have these qualities. So for our 3 games, our captain is going to be Puntsak.
Midfielder Punsok.
It's for the national team, the country she's representing, and for women, because teachers or parents or spectators think there are a lot of people out there who don't believe in this. Comments that are thrown around just carelessly, like, what will women do? They can't play. Sports is not a women's thing.
In fact, due to Chinese diplomatic and economic pressures, the men's national team has scarcely played competitive football for 3 years. The trainee hairdresser is enthusiastic about doing more to share the mantle of responsibility with the men.
She says it's just that we haven't had the opportunity till now. It's not like we don't have abilities. We do. We can achieve as much as or more than the men have done if we are given the equal opportunity.
But there may be greater obstacles to Punsok's dream than China.
The women empowerment, they're talking too much on women empowerment. This is what I also said, Casey.
Khalsang Dondup, team boss and executive secretary of the Tibetan National Sports Association.
I said, in our Tibetan society, since 1959 we came here, they have an equal right as the man gets. They have more than the man, actually, if they are capable.
More rights?
Rights and more privilege compared to the man. They have more, actually.
And so we're talking too much about women's rights?
Yeah, why? Some individual cases, yes, maybe.
I was 15 years old. I got raped.
Kunsang Dolma, author and participant at last year's camp, spoke about her own rape after a teenaged player approached the BBC World Service to recount how she had been sexually assaulted multiple times at a school founded by the Dalai Lama's sister.
Abuse of women and girls is still accepted. I told her this better, just keep quiet. Then I never got my period. The stomachs grow. My mother, she said, oh my gosh, yes, you're pregnant.
Dolma's recent autobiography, 100,000 White Stones, has provoked soul-searching among Tibetans and some condemnation from traditionalists for publicly raising the issue of Tibetan fallibility and shattering the myth of Shangri-La.
And my father grabbed my hair and he said, you are a whore. I was so scared, saw my father's face. He grabbed me, started beating me. I tried to run, but my brother grabbed me too. They shut the door, I couldn't escape. They both started beating me, and I can hear my mother scream. She begged them to stop.
Doctors aborted Kunsang Dolma's child at 7 months, and she fled home to a nunnery, where she remained for 3 years.
And so many Tibetans self-immolation in Tibet last few years. Yeah, we all know Chinese bad, but what about us? We don't even care our own people. Let the women suffer.
Dawn, day 21. It's business as usual as dormitories are swept and breakfast prepared. But today is a watershed. A third of the squad will be cut and not travel to Delhi.
It's not significant enough to have an enforced cut, I feel. Our youngest players are 14 years old, and they want to stay here and play football, and it could be hard for them to, send them away that early.
Coach Eric.
We want to develop these players. It would be wonderful if in the future the Tibetan women's national team could have a Tibetan woman for a coach. So it's worth keeping those girls around just so they get that bit of extra work. And I think overall it could be good for the morale and the family atmosphere of everything that's going on here.
Tension mounts as Cassie reluctantly prepares to announce the final selection after dinner.
Okay, my darlings, this is the worst part of camp. Whenever a national team is getting ready, they have to make a selection. If we want to be a real national team, we're gonna have to get used to it. If you hear your name, you're in the final 18. Let's just do it. Michael Jackson, Pem, Doma, Mandel, Dorji, Tsedokar, Lamoki, Yangchen, Chunzum, Otso, Punsok, Tselamo, Rinzin, Laughing Buddha, Sangdol, Sherab, and Dekyong. That's it. Okay, girls? I'm gonna go sit outside. If you wanna come talk to me, I'm there.
Young Sonam, who travelled 2,500 kilometres to be here, is one of those who didn't make the cut.
It was a sad moment. My friend cried a lot. She tried her best. Still, she's not there. So I feel sad. But not that much. I know that I'm not going to be selected. Maybe if I get chance, I will be coming next year.
And they all know each other's story. They look out for each other when bad things happen. It was a lovely thing to see. I've seen it before.
Squad therapist James Ryle.
This is a big moment to some of the people that were cut because they feel that they're doing something for their own country by being a part of the team. They think they're playing for their mother, or sometimes they would love to think that their mothers could have had the opportunity that they had.
Amid the gloom, yet another order from Tibetan National Sports Association boss Khalsang Dondo. With a smaller squad going to Delhi, the volunteer coaches must be sacked.
Volunteers who've come here from their homes on their own expense. I don't really understand because the grant we received is for this camp specifically, and it's more than enough money. I can say that as fundraiser and accountant for every camp we've ever done before. I work with the Tibetan National Sports Association, but I am not a puppet, and I will not just regurgitate things that they want if I think that they're wrong in principle, and I refuse to tell these volunteers they can't come to Delhi. Khalsang himself will have to tell them, but I won't.
The volunteers are spared, and finally, the squad and coaches board a night bus to Delhi.
I'm a little nervous, as always, but seeing some of the girls for the first time wearing the national jersey made me really proud of them.
A gentle first game against Sanskriti School. Captain Punsog, the David Beckham of Tibetan women's football, scores a wonder goal from the halfway line in a 2-0 win.
She was very shocked.
Oh, Captain, super goals. I'm really happy.
But the captain is injured in the second match.
Pressure! Get there, pressure!
Which ends in a tense draw against Punjab Heroes. The tour's success hinges on the last game.
When I think about all the matches we've ever played, my favorite was when we played against Haryana. That was the first time this team ever wore the national jersey. And we lost 0-2, but we didn't care.
Instead of that, we were celebrating at that time.
We looked like we won. Why? Because you were wearing that flag right here. You were the first women to ever do it. The score doesn't really matter. What matters is that you represent Tibet and that you do it to your best ability. That's it.
While both teams are ravaged by injury, opponents Manthan Foundation are reigning Delhi champions. Another blow for the Snow Lionesses. Top scorer Otso twists an ankle. But Rinzin and Michael Jackson are on fire up front. And despite a penalty miss, the Snow Lionesses romp to a 3-1 victory.
Before we get out of here, let's make sure we get one last Shine On Tibet Girls cheer, okay? Let's do it. I feel just extremely grateful to have been able to work with this group who have so much positive character from top to bottom. I mean, every one of you. We want you to get out there and fight outside of football, okay? Don't let people walk over you. Don't settle for being a smaller version of yourself, all right? Be the biggest version of you that can be. Get out there and make a good change in the world, okay? Because you can all do it. I'll miss all of you, and I love all of you, and I'll be sad to see you go. So thank you, and I guess goodbye.
In the same week, the FIFA Women's World Cup kicks off in Canada. Tibetans from all over the world converge on Dharamshala for the National Sports Association's annual football competition. Named in honor of the Dalai Lama's mother, the tournament is not open to women. There is no women's equivalent competition, and funding for the Tibetan girls' school soccer program would appear to be under threat.
For not just this team, but the entire program, the 1,000 girls that are in this program, who's gonna stand up to these bureaucrats in the offices that are trying to shut us down? Who's gonna stand up and lead these girls and say, we want this, give it to us? And I think the girls are gonna have to take it for themselves.
After a month of training and matches, of giving their all mentally, physically and emotionally, the players board one last bus that will convey them back to their lives in exile, to schools, colleges and jobs thousands of miles apart. Each young woman dreaming of a home beyond the mountains and vowing to play again one day under the flag of their beloved Tibet.
Soccer Nuns was researched and produced for the BBC World Service by Ivan Broadhead, with audio post-production by Chris Atkins.